Hello and welcome live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Gautam Roy, and coming up in the next hour, electioneering picks up momentum for India's grand 7-phase general elections. Prime Minister Narendra Modi campaigns in two key southern cities of Salem and Palakkad. Opposition takes up manifesto making. Bulgarian President thanks India's Prime Minister and its Navy for its daring rescue of 7 of his country's sailors from a ship hijacked by Somalian pirates in the Arabian Sea. Benjamin Netanyahu says he's made it supremely clear to US President Joe Biden in their latest phone call that destroying Hamas in Rafah would require a ground incursion by Israeli forces. And Republicans as well as Democrats in the US Congress say they've struck a deal to pass a bill to keep the federal government funded just ahead of the weekend shutdown deadline. Well, first up, let's get you the latest on what's happening in India in the run-up to the world's largest democratic general elections. Well, electioneering is gaining momentum ahead of the all-important general elections 2024. Both ruling BJP-led NDA and opposition parties led by the Congress are leaving no stone unturned to woo voters. Leaders are addressing rallies and deliberating upon election promises. The next report tells us about the hustle and bustle of campaigning that happened on Tuesday.
As the polling for 7-phase general elections draws closer, campaigning is gaining momentum with both the ruling party and opposition parties leaving no stone unturned to woo the voters. India's Prime Minister and senior BJP leader Narendra Modi on Tuesday held a roadshow in Palakkad in southern Indian state of Kerala as part of the NDA election campaign. This was PM Modi's first campaign event in Kerala after the general elections announcement. After the roadshow, PM Modi proceeded to Salem in the neighbouring state of Tamil Nadu, where he addressed a public meeting. PM said that India Alliance people repeatedly and deliberately insult Hinduism.
India Alliance वाले लोग बार-बार जानबूझकर हिंदू धर्म का अपमान करते हैं। हिंदू धर्म के खिलाफ इनका हर बयान बहुत सोचा समझा हुआ होता है। आप देखिए, और किसी धर्म का अपमान डीएमके कांग्रेस का इंडिया अलायंस कभी नहीं करता।
The Congress Working Committee met on Tuesday and quote-unquote deliberated thoroughly on the party's manifesto for the upcoming elections.
हमारे कांग्रेस अध्यक्ष और राहुल जी ने पिछले 63 दिनों में 5 न्याय को लेकर 25 गारंटियों की घोषणा की है और आज इन गारंटियों के ऊपर और इससे आगे भी और अलग विषयों में हमारी आर्थिक नीति के लिए क्या न्याय का एजेंडा होना चाहिए, हमारे विदेश नीति के लिए क्या न्याय का एजेंडा होना चाहिए, हमारे संविधान के संरक्षण के लिए न्याय का एजेंडा क्या होना चाहिए, पर्यावरण को लेकर क्या न्याय एजेंडा होना चाहिए, इस पर बातचीत हुई।
Former Ambassador of India to the United States Taranjeet Singh Sandhu and JMM MLA Sita Soren have joined the BJP in New Delhi. On one hand, Prakash Ambedkar, upset over the inability to reach a seat-sharing agreement between political alliances in Maharashtra, has written expressing his discontent. He has declared support for the Congress in 7 Lok Sabha constituencies in the state. On the other hand, Maharashtra Navnirman Sena Chief Raj Thackeray met Union Home Minister Amit Shah in the national capital over seat sharing in Lok Sabha elections 2024. Poll preparations are in their final stages in the NDA camp, and leaders are on their campaign trail, and work on finalizing the list of candidates is going on, while challenges seem to be unending in the opposition camp. Bureau Report, DT India.
Now, as campaigning intensifies, political leaders are now getting busy wooing the masses. Voters are also preparing to send the best representatives to the Indian Parliament. Let's take a look at some of the issues that are set to dominate the mind space of people when they press the magic EVM button.
As India gears up for general elections, political parties are also ready with the list of issues they wish to go to the voters with. The political war of 2024 will essentially be fought in many small battles throughout the nation, with each battle having its own set of issues and strategies. However, on a larger canvas, the fight for a majority in the lower house will be between the two big alliances: the National Democratic Alliance, comprising the BJP and its allies, and Indi Alliance, or the Indian National Development Inclusive Alliance. It is an alliance of over 20 political parties, including the Indian National Congress. While the two major parties, that is the BJP and the Congress, will be in direct fight in many states, the alliance partners will square off against each other in most parts of the nation. Both the camps seem to be ready with their own strategy of wooing the voters. The incumbent BJP-led NDA will focus on the work done by the Narendra Modi government in the past 10 years. While the opposition will try and strike a chord with issues like inflation, unemployment, etc. There are some issues that will dominate the campaigning in weeks to come. The NDA led by the BJP has focused on 10 years of uninterrupted public welfare. The BJP is ready with a long list of accomplishments that the party thinks will catapult it to the third straight victory. A critical pillar of BJP's economic program consists of new welfareism, in which the government has ramped up investments in the public distribution of private goods such as gas cylinders, toilets, bank accounts and electricity connections. Flagship welfare programs for the poor. The Modi Guarantee has been a key campaign slogan for the BJP. The India Alliance ran a mass outreach program led by the Indian National Congress ahead of the upcoming general elections. The Bharat Jodo Nyaya Yatra began from the northeastern state of Manipur to end in the western Indian city of Mumbai. It aimed to raise the pitch for social, economical, political justice for the people of India. While Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal has urged Delhi residents to vote for Indi bloc for stronger representation in Parliament, promising inflated water bills will be waived within 15 days. The BJP is fighting opposition, which apart from India Alliance also includes regional satraps. The biggest state in terms of seats is UP or Uttar Pradesh, and here the fight is multi-cornered. BJP, India Alliance and BSP are the main players on the political pitch. Apart from this, there are pockets of political activity where the BJP will be in direct contest with many state parties that are fighting independently and have a powerful base with the voters. In West Bengal, BJP will be against the Trinamool Congress led by Mamata Banerjee. Increased GDP growth, construction of the Ram Temple in the holy city of Ayodhya, passage of Women's Reservation Bill, successful moon landing by Chandrayaan-3 are some of the highlights that the government will go to the masses with. The issues, both national and regional, are dynamic, and the political map of India will see many more issues which will pitch the parties against each other. Whichever party wins majority, democracy will once again emerge as the clear winner. Bureau Report, DD India.
And we'll keep getting the latest as the election buzz builds up to voting days. Now, shifting focus, the Indian Navy continues to play a critical role in safeguarding the Indian Ocean region. Another rescue operation, this time of Bulgarian sailors and others, exemplifies a commitment in combating piracy and ensuring the safety of international trade routes. Our next report explores the details of the rescue operation and the broader impact of the Indian Navy's anti-piracy efforts on the global stage.
The Indian Navy continues to be a dominant force against piracy in the crucial Indian Ocean trade route. In a recent dramatic 40-hour operation, it successfully rescued 17 crew members, including Bulgarians, from a hijacked merchant vessel MV Ruin. This daring mission involved airdropping elite Marcos commandos and combat craft onto the ship, ultimately leading to the surrender of 35 heavily armed Somalian pirates. This isn't an isolated incident. Last month, the Navy's swift action thwarted a separate pirate attack on an Iranian fishing vessel, FV Omaril, ensuring the crew's safe return. Their effectiveness extends further, with 2 successful rescues of hijacked ships and their combined crews of 36 off the Somali coast within the same time frame. The Indian Navy's relentless efforts haven't gone unnoticed. Following the MV Rune operation, the Bulgarian president expressed gratitude for the Indian Navy's precision rescue mission. Even US Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin commended India's crucial role in conducting various anti-piracy operations. Since 2008, a staggering 91 Indian warships have patrolled high-risk areas, deterring pirate activity and ensuring safe passage for commercial vessels. This commitment has earned India the title of net security provider in the Indian Ocean region. The dedication extends beyond the Arabian Sea as well. With a permanent warship stationed near the strategically important Strait of Hormuz, it has also launched Operation Sankalp since 2019 to safeguard the Indian merchant vessels traversing the Gulf amidst heightened tensions. Under this operation, 27 Indian warships have successfully escorted a remarkable 381 Indian-flagged vessels carrying nearly 305 lakh tons of cargo. India's dedication to a free and open Indo-Pacific, coupled with its successful anti-piracy efforts, solidifies the Indian Navy's position as a trusted partner for maritime security in the Indian Ocean region. Jessica Taneja for DD India.
And still to come on DD India News are: India terms China's stand on the state of Arunachal Pradesh as absurd. Another snoozer Tuesday in the US presidential race in 5 states after both Donald Trump and Joe Biden have picked up enough delegates to become the candidates of their parties. And the UN chief says the global climate report shows the Earth is sending out a distress signal. India that invents. India that innovates. India that excites. India that invites. Land of possibility. Teeming with opportunities. Watch India Ideas each Thursday, 8 p.m. only on DD India. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Gautam Roy. Now, India's Foreign Ministry on Tuesday said that China was making absurd claims over Arunachal Pradesh, adding that the northeastern state, which shares a border with China, will always be an integral and inalienable part of India. In response to media queries and comments made by the spokesperson of the Chinese Defense Ministry regarding Arunachal Pradesh, the official spokesperson of the Ministry of External Affairs of India, Randhir Jaiswal, said, and I quote, "We've noted the comments made by the spokesperson of the Chinese Defense Ministry advancing absurd claims over the territory of the Indian state of Arunachal Pradesh. Repeating baseless arguments in this regard does not lend such claims any validity. Arunachal Pradesh was, is and will always be an integral and inalienable part of India. Its people will continue to benefit from our development programs and infrastructure projects." Now, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said that he's made it supremely clear to US President Joe Biden during their phone call on Monday that the objective of wiping out Hamas can only be fulfilled by going into Rafah. Efforts at striking a ceasefire deal in exchange for hostages are being taken forward by Qatar in Doha with cautious optimism as well. DD India's Mehir Maikuri gets you more.
As the conflict between Israel and Hamas continues, there is also a growing optimism for peace. On Tuesday, Qatar expressed cautious optimism about the ongoing Gaza ceasefire talks. The next major goal of these negotiations is to present a counter-proposal to Hamas. The primary objective of these talks is to achieve a ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hamas, as well as to secure the release of hostages held by Hamas.
First of all, I don't think we are at a moment now where we can say that we are close to a deal. We are, as I said, we are cautiously optimistic because the talks have resumed, and that is a good thing, and we hope that that continues, and we hope to build upon that in the coming days, but it's still too early to announce any successes. So we remain, as I said, we remain hopeful. So we are at a point now where we are expecting that a counter-proposal would be presented to Hamas, but this is not the final step in the process, obviously. Until we reach a place where both sides can agree on language of an agreement, these steps back and forth will continue.
Tuesday also saw U.S. top diplomat Antony Blinken announcing his visit to West Asia this week. During a visit to the Philippines, Blinken said his trip to meet senior leaders in Saudi Arabia and Egypt would aim to discuss the right architecture for lasting regional peace.
So with regard to the trip that we'll be taking from here, going on to Saudi Arabia and to Egypt, the purpose is multifold. It's, of course, to push for an agreement on a ceasefire and the release of hostages. As you know, we're intensely engaged on that every single day, and we're doing everything we can to push that forward and to reach an agreement.
Blinken's remarks followed Monday's discussions between Biden and Netanyahu, covering topics from the situation in Rafah to the initiatives aimed at enhancing aid to Gaza. On the call, Israel's Prime Minister also agreed to send a team to Washington for discussions on a potential military operation against Hamas in Gaza's city of Rafah.
We of course share this desire to allow an orderly exit of the population and the provision of humanitarian aid to civilian population. We have been doing this since the beginning of the war, but I made it supremely clear to the President in our conversation that we are determined to complete the elimination of these Hamas battalions in Rafah, and there is no way to do it except by going in on the ground.
Britain's Deputy Prime Minister defended on Tuesday Israel's right to protect itself, but called for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza on humanitarian grounds.
I continue to support Israel's right to defend itself, not only for the sake of Israel, but also I think around the world we should be standing up to this kind of barbarism.
In Gaza, aid trucks arrived at night to help alleviate the humanitarian crisis. On the other hand, Israeli forces targeted Hamas terrorists, killing over 50 and detaining 180 suspects in a raid on Al-Shifa hospital. The latest chapter to the decades-old conflict began after Hamas launched an unprecedented assault on Israel on the 7th of October last year, with hundreds of gunmen infiltrating communities near the Gaza Strip. Israeli military says over 200 soldiers and civilians, including women and children, have been taken as hostages to Gaza. Mihir Maikhori's report for DD India.
And let's get you more on this with DD India's Alex Gadir reporting in from Amman in Jordan.
Well, we heard cautious optimism from the Qatari Foreign Ministry's spokesperson. Cautious optimism because those talks are ongoing, but very clearly Majid al-Ansari saying that it was too soon to celebrate any progress in these discussions. We know that the head of the Mossad, David Barnea, has left Qatar. He's left Qatar and is now heading back to Israel. But those technical teams, so officials from the Israeli side will be talking to mediators as well. Those technical teams are still negotiating, are still talking, trying to work out the details. The last framework we heard, this means that this would be an exchange between 40 Israeli hostages, elderly hostages, women and injured hostages being released against 700 to 1,000 Palestinian prisoners being held in Israel. That was the request by Hamas, and they also demanded that Israel withdraw all of its troops from Gaza in the next phases of this agreement. Now, those will be sticking points that these technical teams are trying to resolve, but the fact that these conversations are ongoing, that these negotiations are happening in person for the first time since late February, really a significant step forward. We heard from Qatar. We know that the United States, as you rightly mentioned, is putting more pressure on Israel to reach some kind of ceasefire deal. That 6-week ceasefire allowing that exchange of hostages and Palestinian prisoners to happen. But certainly the prospect of Rafah looms very large over these negotiations, Nick.
Top U.S. Republicans and Democrats in the Congress on Tuesday said they've reached a deal to keep the government funded through the rest of the fiscal year that started in October. Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson and Democratic Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer revealed the agreement in a pair of statements on Tuesday morning. Current House rules require that lawmakers have 3 days to consider legislation before bringing it to the floor and pass it before a weekend shutdown deadline. But tensions continue as the nation's $34.5 trillion national debt continues to grow. Let's now get you more on this with DD India's Nick Harper joining us from Washington, D.C. Good evening to you from Delhi. Nick, are there any details available on what sort of a deal has been struck and what does it mean for key presidential election issues like illegal immigration and support for Ukraine?
Well, Gordon, some of the details are beginning to trickle out now. Importantly, what has been agreed by the negotiators on both sides is really the last piece of the puzzle, and that was all to do with homeland security. Of course, the very contentious issue at the moment in an election year, looking at how to strengthen areas along the border with Mexico. They have now agreed funding that would run until the end of this fiscal year, so the end of September, along with 5 other bills that they had to agree on. In total, those 6 bills fund about 3/4 of the US government. It covers other big departments like the State Department, military spending, so the Pentagon as well. But we are still in a situation where we may have a partial shutdown, at least for a brief time. Now, midnight Friday going into Saturday, that's the deadline by which both houses of Congress, the House of Representatives and the Senate, need to agree to this. But we still don't have the full text, and only when we have the full text will that 72-hour or 3-day clock begin, which means that people in the House of Representatives will be able to look at the text and decide whether or not they want to vote on it when it comes up for a full vote. If and when the House approves it, it moves on to the Senate. They can have potentially 30 hours of debate before they then vote on it. And of course, we are now at Tuesday lunchtime, fast running out of time. As for Ukraine funding, that's still a separate issue. Mike Johnson, the Republican House Speaker, says that he won't bring that to the House floor for a full vote. He's still holding it up. So there's still millions of dollars of aid which have been agreed by the Senate but not yet agreed by the House of Representatives. Another one to watch. At some point that'll be coming for a vote, but it's unclear exactly when that's going to happen.
Yeah, meanwhile we have Lloyd Austin saying that Ukraine's really on the brink of it's in danger, survival is in danger. That's what Austin has said, the latest remark coming in. But, you know, with what is happening now with these bills, does this mean it'll be smooth sailing for Joe Biden till the 5th of November? Or are there more hurdles that need to be crossed on keeping his government funded?
Well, not really, because there will be several more issues in the offing. Each year, the US government needs to agree to the next fiscal year's funding. So this one will run until the end of September. The irony is that it's taken them about 5.5 months or so since the beginning of October to actually agree this year's funding. So come the end of September, they'll need to be considering the next fiscal year. And of course, that will be happening about 5 weeks before the November 5th election. So therefore, it will become a very contentious issue once again, with both Republicans and Democrats undoubtedly pushing back against key concerns when it comes to funding for things like border security, international funding as well. So there are some road bumps ahead for the president, for Congress as well, especially in this election year. Everything becomes much more fractious.
Oh yes, so we'll see more action, I'm sure, in the build-up, and these will all reflect on the coming up elections as well. Thanks a lot for joining us for the moment, Nick Harper. And it's Snoozer Tuesday, another day in the United States presidential primary election process when voters in 5 US states are choosing who they want leading the Democratic and Republican parties in November's presidential election. It comes a week after President Biden and former President Donald Trump reached the required number of delegates to become their parties' nominees, so it's a bit of a dead rubber.
5 states are holding their presidential nominating contests a week after both President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump netted enough delegates to clinch their party's nomination. Although the two candidates are now looking ahead to their general election rematch in November, Biden is contending with a protest movement from Democratic voters who oppose his backing of Israel's attacks against Hamas in Gaza. The protest movement is asking voters to mark uncommitted on their ballots to register their opposition to Biden's position. The movement has had varying degrees of success in states that have already held primaries. Let us take a look at what is happening on the ground in Tuesday's Democratic and Republican primaries. In Arizona, organizers who support the uncommitted movement are urging voters to choose Democrat Marianne Williamson over Biden. Williamson suspended her campaign after Nevada's primary, but recently reactivated it. Arizona's large Hispanic population, representing a third of the state, could help Trump, as a growing number of Hispanic voters are switching their allegiance to him. There will be no Democratic primary in Florida, where the state party effectively cancelled it after voting to list Biden as the only candidate on the ballot. On the Republican side, Trump also faces no challengers. Trump faces criminal charges in Florida. He has been accused of illegally holding on to classified documents after leaving the White House. However, he has denied any wrongdoing. Organizers of the uncommitted movement are asking Democratic voters in Illinois to either leave their ballots blank or write Gaza on their ballots. Biden beat Trump in Illinois in 2020 and is expected to win the Democratic stronghold again this year. Kansas is holding its first presidential primary in 30 years. It typically holds caucuses, which are less costly for the state but result in lower participation. In November's general election, Trump is expected to easily win the state. As far as Ohio is concerned, it doesn't have an uncommitted option. Blank ballots and write-in ballots will not be counted in the state. Meanwhile, Donald Trump's use of the term bloodbath in his speech in Ohio on Saturday continued to stir a debate on Monday, with supporters saying the comment referred only to the auto industry, while others condemned it as violent rhetoric. In a section of his speech about placing tariffs on imported cars and foreign competition for the US auto industry, Trump had declared that it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole country and the likely end of American democracy if he loses the presidential election. Bureau Report, DD India.
The Earth is sending a distress signal. That is how Secretary General of the United Nations has summarized the latest UN climate report, which has revealed a number of weather records were broken last year. The report, launched by UN's World Meteorological Organization, has revealed that the planet is on the cusp of breaching the Paris Climate Accord's key warming threshold of 1.5 degrees Celsius. From Berlin, DD India's Trent Murray reports.
This report by the WMO has confirmed that 2023 was the hottest year on record. It also said that the period from 2014 to 2023 reflected the hottest 10-year period on record. It's just one of several revelations which has led meteorologists who commissioned the report to sound the alarm on the warming of our planet. The scientists say that extreme weather last year wreaked havoc for millions of people and caused billions of dollars in economic losses. It also said key records on greenhouse gas emissions, sea ice loss and ocean temperatures were in many cases not just broken, but in their words, smashed. Launching the report, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres said the time to act was now.
Earth is issuing a distress call. The latest State of the Global Climate Report shows a planet on the brink. Fossil fuel pollution is sending climate chaos off the charts. Sirens are blaring across all major indicators. Last year saw record heat, record sea levels, and record ocean surface temperatures. Glaciers likely lost more ice than ever before. Some records are just chart-topping, they are chart-busting, and changes are speeding up. Sea level rises are accelerating, threatening coastal communities. And last September, Antarctic sea ice was 1 million square kilometers smaller than the previous record low for the time of year.
The report shows that global average temperatures in 2023 stood at 1.45 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. Now that is just shy of the 1.5 degree threshold that was agreed in Paris. Scientists say that if the average rises above 1.5 degrees, well, the effects will be increasingly harmful for the people and the planet. The WMO says, though, there is one glimmer of hope, and that is renewable energy. Researchers say that new green power generation last year increased by nearly 50%, the highest it's ever seen in a single year. But experts say much more is needed to help hit decarbonisation targets. Trent Murray for DD India, Berlin.
And still to come on DD India News are... Join our expert guest for a discussion on how India is living up to its reputation and calling of being the net security provider in the Indian Ocean region. India's Prime Minister is headed to Bhutan's capital Thimphu for the next 2 days to deepen ties with the Himalayan kingdom. And a formidable display of India's AI and deep tech prowess on day 2 of the Startup Mahakumbh in the national capital Delhi.
Wherever news breaks, whatever it takes.
Connecting corners, cutting across continents.
Stories that matter from across the globe.
Accurate, authentic journalism that serves you right. From politics to glamour, from sports to world affairs, with a fusion of aesthetics and substance. Introducing news in a new avatar. Experience the world through a new lens. Stay tuned to DD India for an exciting journey beyond borders.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Gautam Roy, and before we go ahead, let's take another look at our top stories. Electioneering picks up momentum for India's grand 7-phase general elections. Prime Minister Modi campaigns in 2 key southern cities of Salem and Palakkad. Opposition takes up manifesto making. Bulgarian President thanks India's Prime Minister Modi and its Navy for its daring rescue of 7 of his country's sailors from a ship hijacked by Somalian pirates in the Arabian Sea. Benjamin Netanyahu says he's made it supremely clear to US President Joe Biden in their latest phone call that destroying Hamas in Rafah would require a ground incursion by Israeli forces. And Republicans as well as Democrats in the US Congress say they've struck a deal to pass a bill to keep the federal government funded just ahead of the weekend shutdown deadline. Let's talk about how, once again, India has proven its capability in terms of being a net security provider in the Indian Ocean region with the latest rescue of sailors and a ship which the pirates were planning to convert into a mother piracy ship. How the Indian sailors, the Indian Navy really compelled these pirates. The Marcos commandos really went out on the ship and compelled these pirates to surrender the ship to them as well. We're joined by our guest, Alok Bansal, Director, India Foundation and security expert as well. Good evening to you, Dr. Bansal. What do you make of what's happened in terms of how India is once again proving its reputation and, of course, its calling as well of being a net security provider in the Indian Ocean with this latest incident?
See, India has been the largest littoral navy in the Indian Ocean region. And what is important is that the countries of the region consider India as a benign power. And that's been proved time and again. India has come to provide succor to different countries of the region from time to time. There was a time when Mozambique needed an offshore security for an OAU summit, and Indian Navy provided it. When our neighbors wanted their citizens to be evacuated from trouble-torn countries, Indian Navy did it. In fact, so much so that even the United States, when it wanted its citizens to be evacuated from Yemen, approached the Indian Navy. And now, with this daredevil act, where they have not only captured all the pirates, but ensured that none of the crew members were harmed in any way. It's been a superb attempt which Indian Navy has done, and it has established its credentials as a supremely capable force, capable of providing security not only to Indian citizens and Indian interests, but also to the global community as a whole. With this attempt, India emerges as a prima donna as far as policing of the Indian Ocean region is concerned.
How do you think Indian Navy has been able to do it? Because it's a vast region and really very different theatres to manage in terms of how in some areas the pirates hold its way, and then there's the danger from Houthis as well.
See, Indian Navy has been operating in these regions for a certain period of time. In addition, I think there has been an augmentation of force level in recent past. We have wherewithal, like in this particular operation itself, you would have seen there were warships. There was a maritime reconnaissance aircraft which was actually flying in the air, providing all sorts of reconnaissance and providing information. And then we had an Air Force aircraft which came and dropped marine commandos with boats into the sea. Now that is what is unimaginable actually. That's what was a very, very phenomenal attempt by which Marcos actually went up to the ship, captured the pirates and ensured the release of all crew members. So this has been a phenomenal success. I think it is both expertise in terms of training, because Indian Navy has a long tradition of working hard. We have been providing support, be it humanitarian assistance, disaster relief, or such cases where policing duties are required at the high seas. So we have over the years acquired an expertise in this field. And I think this particular incident has shown Indian Navy in very, very good light. And I think international community has sit up and taken notice. And I think our credentials as the net security provider as far as Indian Ocean is concerned has been established. Now we could probably cobble up a coalition to provide policing in entire Indian Ocean region and be the leader as far as this particular region is concerned.
Well, India has been urged to join the efforts being led by the US and UK as well in the past, but so far we haven't. Why do you think we have kept this sort of a thing going, that India can do it on its own?
See, I think US and UK drawn core forces have a particular agenda. They have a particular countries which they want to target, which are actually aimed against certain particular countries. And I think India has always maintained its strategic autonomy. And I think we feel that we are in a position to provide security to all seafarers in the Indian Ocean region and ensure the freedom of navigation. And I think by this incident which has just taken place, where a merchant ship which had been captured by the pirates for use as mothership, which would have enabled pirates to move far away from the coast and carry out their incidents. Because what has happened is, of late, with the acts of piracy, the Horn of Africa is being patrolled vigorously by various navies. But with the mothership, they should have been in a position to move far away from the coast and carry out these incidents. Now, by getting this ship, recapturing the ship, releasing the crew and arresting all the pirates, we have prevented a number of piracies that could have taken place if this action would not have taken place.
And do you think that the Indian Navy, if it comes to it, can also prove to be a fairly potent sort of a force when it comes to the challenge of the Houthis as well?
Well, there is no doubt that we have the capability of taking on those attacks.
Why I ask is because the Houthis are a different kettle of fish compared to pirates.
No, there is no doubt, because Houthis are firing from land. Now,
yes,
there you have to actually prevent an attack or whatever is taking place. Targeting a missile which is coming from the shore is feasible for Indian Navy to do so. But I think the ships would have to exercise some amount of caution, because they'll have to probably move away, because Indian Navy cannot provide continuous defense to each and every ship, unless of course they follow a particular path and inform our Indian Navy that which all ships are coming. And there'll be certain limitations, I think. So if this sort of a responsibility is to be shouldered, then we may probably have to create a coalition of like-minded countries, which are, and as I said right in the beginning, that as far as India and Indian Navy is concerned, it is seen as a benign power, and most countries of the region are willing to collaborate with us. So if we decide to create a coalition for providing security to shipping, we may have a better chance of success than many other countries. And we can obviously deal with these missiles and guns which are being fired from the coast. Of course, you can never ensure foolproof 100% security to a merchant ship which is transiting close to the coast.
Which could these like-minded countries be? I mean, they can't be in the Western camp because they have, as you said, a different objective. India has, if India has to expand this, India would have to choose carefully.
See, all the littoral countries, if you actually look at it, South Africa, Kenya, all the littoral countries, they may not have great maritime resources. Indonesia, they would definitely would like to collaborate. Maybe some of the countries which are part of the Western camp could also join, like Singapore, Thailand, etc. could possibly join us. But all the countries which are in the Indian Ocean region, our neighbors, countries like Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, could also chip in with us. And then, of course, we have very good relations with island nations like Seychelles and Mauritius, countries like Madagascar, etc. We could create a grid whereby all these countries which do not have the resources and send ships out in the sea can probably patrol in their vicinity and remain in communication touch with Indian Navy and its maritime reconnaissance aircraft which are operating across the ocean and can possibly identify this sort of rogue ships or pirate ships which are indulging in this sort of activities.
Well, that'll be something. I'm sure that is something that at an informal level exchange of information does happen, and that comes into good stead as well. But if there's a formal move towards something, then perhaps that would also prove to be more effective than what is going on at the moment, because these pirates, well, they're basically desperate people coming in from regions that are right now facing a lot of economic and other forms of distress through civil war and whatnot. They are a difficult force to contain, and more the merrier in terms of getting them to desist from what they've been doing, putting global trade at risk. About $200 billion of trade that goes through for India itself is at risk because of what's been happening. Thank you so much for joining us, Alok Bansal.
Thank you.
Now, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be travelling to Bhutan for a two-day visit this Thursday. The visit signals the importance attached by India to its ties with the Himalayan nation. DD India's Amritpal Singh reports from Bhutan's capital, Thimphu.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be in Bhutan on the 21st and 22nd of this month. The visit comes days after Bhutanese Prime Minister sharing Topge's visit to India from the 14th to the 18th of March. During the visit, Prime Minister Modi will receive Bhutan's highest civilian award, the Order of the Druk Gyalpo, from the King of Bhutan, Jigme Khesar Namgyal Wangchuk. Bhutan had announced the award on the occasion of the country's 114th National Day in 2021. The visit is expected to further cement relations between the two neighboring nations. India and Bhutan share a unique and exemplary partnership which cuts across various sectors like hydroelectric power generation, manufacturing, hospitality, pharmaceuticals, education. In fact, many Bhutanese students every year are given various scholarships to study in India. And also over 1,000 Indian ITES companies are training young Bhutanese students in schools like this, equipping them with IT skills. Infrastructure development remains a key component of India's developmental assistance to Bhutan. Prime Minister Modi will be inaugurating a mother and child hospital built with Indian funding.
In this hospital, there will be OTs, there will be neonatal, ICU. So you call it, all the facilities are now incorporated in this new hospital. So we are very happy to see that we have a now new state-of-the-art hospital funded by the government of India.
Now we have more facilities out here, so we don't have to go to Kolkata or anywhere else.
In strengthening the healthcare services of Bhutan, I think India has played a big role, because back in the day there were lots of patients who needed to be referred out to India because we didn't have the facilities that were required here. But in the recent days, thanks to help from the Indian government, we have brought in new equipment, and they have been helping us with the infrastructure. They've been helping us with technical expertise as well.
We are very lucky that we get support from India, and especially for the lives of patients, they make a huge difference.
As Prime Minister Modi prepares to visit Bhutan this week, the stage is all set for further strengthening the multifaceted relationship between the two neighbors, especially in the critical field of infrastructure development, like this mother and child hospital, which has been funded by India, that the Prime Minister shall be inaugurating. With my colleague Neeraj Singh and cameraman YK Loknath, this is Amritpal Singh for DD India in Thimphu.
And still to come on DD India News are: the Bank of Japan ends the world's only negative rates regime, raises interest rates for the first time since 2007. An introduction to the British actor set to play the next 007.
We just don't bring you the news as it unfolds. We get to the heart of the matter.
We don't just present facts, we demystify complex social, political and economic events.
We break stories that shape the world's present and future, because you deserve the truth.
I am Tanvi Taneja from New Delhi.
I'm Ollie Barrett from London.
I'm Nick Harper from Washington, D.C.
Join us on DD India Global Monday to Friday at these times.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Gautam Roy. A Startup Mahakumbh, a premier event showcasing India's vibrant startup ecosystem, is in full swing through its second day. The event offers a unique platform for startups to connect with a diverse array of stakeholders, including venture capitalists, investors and potential corporate partners. DD India's Siddharth Bharadwaj has more.
Today marks the second day of Startup Mahakumbh, an illustrious gathering of startups, unicorns, sonicorns, investors and industry stakeholders. Entrepreneurs from across the nation have converged here, each with unique products and high aspirations. With a projected attendance of over 1,000 startups across the three-day event, this serves as a prime opportunity for them to showcase their innovations and carve out a niche in the market.
As we all know that India has the third largest ecosystem of a startup in the world. The Startup India mission started in 2016, and at that point hardly there were 300 startups in the country. Today the entire ecosystem has grown, and now we are more than 1 lakh startups in India.
From harnessing artificial intelligence in their offerings to presenting handcrafted treasures, each exhibit here narrates a distinct narrative.
Salam Kisan is a data-driven, tech-enabled end-to-end platform that helps farmers with better decision making. We have an AI crop calendar. We provide drone as a service and soil testing 90-second service. We also have input and output marketplaces where farmers can buy products from and sell their produce.
We make paper without cutting a single tree. We make paper from waste cotton rags. And now, interesting thing we do is we infuse seeds in our paper and have created 2,000 plus products.
We have an e-commerce platform for artisans and NGOs. We helped connect them to markets. And we also work with them on product design, unit economics, and help their products become better and ready for corporate gifting as well.
Beyond just a haven for startups, this event also captivates visitors with its unparalleled offerings.
Really excited and happy to see all the new age startups here.
This is a great opportunity offered by the government to the people to showcase the small products, to put their talents out and to get in connection with the rest of the world.
With myriad startups seizing the spotlight on such grand stages, the future of India shines brilliantly.
Startup Mahakumbh is an excellent platform for the startups to showcase their products and collaborate with investors. It's a place where different ideas converge and visionary minds unite. With camera person Vishnu Bandhu, this is Siddharth Bharadwaj reporting for DD India in New Delhi.
Again, turning to foreign shores, at least 10 people have been killed in a suburb of Haiti's capital Port-au-Prince on Monday as tensions continue to escalate in the Caribbean nation. The US has said that Haitian stakeholders are very close to finalizing membership of the Haitian Transitional Council as well, which is seen as a beacon of hope in the bid to stabilize the country. Rabindra Chauhan gets us more.
The situation in Haiti remains volatile, with reports of violence and unrest continuing to emerge from various parts of the country. At least 10 people were killed in a suburb of Haiti's capital, Port-au-Prince, on Monday as tensions continued to escalate in the Caribbean nation. The exact cause of the conflict is still unclear, but it underscores the deep-seated issues plaguing Haiti, including political instability, economic hardship, and social inequality. For a violence-hit nation, the Haitian Transitional Council is seen as a beacon of hope towards stabilizing the country and charting a path towards democratic governance. Trying hard for this, Haitian stakeholders are said to have been very close to finalizing membership in active discussions with the leaders of the Caribbean community, CARICOM.
I understand that Haitian stakeholders are very close to finalizing membership and remain in active discussions with CARICOM leaders as it relates to the makeup of the Transitional Presidential Council. I expect them to have an update, hopefully as soon as today, and refer you to them in CARICOM.
Amid the fear posed by gang leaders who have long sought to oust Prime Minister Ariel Henry and threat to politicians who would join the Transitional Council, residents are facing worsening shortages of food and medical care as shipping firms have changed routes. Meanwhile, in response to an influx of Haitian barges crossing into Dominican territory to purchase commodities, the Dominican Republic has ramped up security measures along its northwestern border.
They are taking away everything from us. We buy bananas and we cannot cross with it. They take away the rice I buy with my money. The situation is hard.
Recent events have caused deeper uncertainty and pessimism in Haiti, with uncontrolled incidents of killings, kidnapping, and gang-related violence, with the potential for further violence and instability. Rabindra Chauhan's report for DD India.
South Korea is currently hosting the third Summit for Democracy, a key conclave spearheaded by US President Joe Biden. The summit is focused on addressing the pressing issues of democratic backsliding and the erosion of rights and freedoms worldwide. DD India's Mehir Makri brings you the latest updates from the summit in Seoul.
Amidst global challenges to democracy, South Korea is taking a leading role in the fight for democratic renewal. Hosting the third Summit for Democracy conference initiated by US President Joe Biden, South Korea aims to address the threats of democratic backsliding and the erosion of rights and freedoms. On Tuesday, British Deputy Prime Minister Oliver Dowden said democratic countries around the world should band together to confront the threat of AI used by malign states to threaten free elections and spread misinformation.
Now what the UK is leading on is a government-led process, a government-led agreement to tackle the threat from AI from foreign states. And I launched this yesterday. There's already considerable interest and a number of states have signed up to it. And this compact is about those democratic nations coming together to recognise that threat, particularly in the AI space. This is not about the internal politics of each individual nation states. That's rightly a matter for nation states.
At the same summit, US top diplomat Antony Blinken on Monday said 2024 is an extraordinary election year to highlight risks of disinformation and falsehoods in cyberspace.
This is an extraordinary election year in country after country. But citizens and candidates will face a flood of falsehoods that suffocate serious civic debate.
In a keynote speech also delivered at the same summit, South Korean President Yoon Suk Yeol called fake news and disinformation based on AI and digital technology threats to democracy.
Fake news and disinformation based on artificial intelligence and digital technology not only violates individual freedom and human rights but also threatens democratic systems.
On Monday, tensions escalated between China and South Korea over Seoul's decision to invite Taiwan Digital Minister Audrey Tang to address a conference. Meanwhile, North Korea fired several short-range ballistic missiles into the sea, marking its first such launch in 2 months. These events unfolded just as Russian President Vladimir Putin claimed victory in a record post-Soviet landslide in a presidential election. The timing of these developments adds significance to the conference as democratic countries gather to discuss the future of democracy in light of these challenges. Mihir Makuri's report for DD India.
Hong Kong's Legislative Council has unanimously passed the new national security law with all 89 votes in favour of the new legislation. Hong Kong leaders termed it a historic moment and said the bill safeguards national security. The new law, which is set to be applicable from the 23rd of this month, aims to update or create new laws and penalties to prevent treason, sabotage, sedition with up to life imprisonment. Let's now take a look at some other stories making the news as well. India's premier paramilitary force, the Central Reserve Police Force, celebrated its 85th anniversary on Tuesday. A parade was organized in the city of Prayagraj in the northern state of Uttar Pradesh to mark the occasion. India's Minister for State for Home Affairs, Nityanand Rai, took the salute at the parade. As part of Operation Sadbhavna, Indian Air Force AN-32 aircraft deployed to airlift critical casualties from Leh to Chandigarh recently. With roads closed due to snow and weather, the IAF remains one of the only lifelines for our citizens from Ladakh and its surrounding remote areas. The Bank of Japan ended 8 years of negative interest rates and other remnants of its unorthodox policy on Tuesday. The Bank of Japan increased its key interest rate from minus 0.1% to a range between 0 and 0.1%. It comes as wages have jumped after consumer prices rose. While the move will be Japan's first interest rate hike in 17 years, it still keeps rates stuck around zero. This is due to a fragile economic recovery there that forces the central bank to go slow in any further rise in borrowing costs. Actor Aaron Taylor-Johnson has been offered the role of James Bond in the film franchise, according to a British tabloid, taking over from Daniel Craig, who wrapped up his tenure playing the suave secret agent in 2021. Citing a source, the tabloid said Eon Productions, the company that makes the 007 movies, was due to start shooting the next installment this year, with the script currently being worked upon. It was not immediately possible to verify the report. Past Bond actors have usually been announced during specially convened press conferences. And now it's time to wrap up this edition of News Hour with some interesting bit of news. In Spain's Malaga, police start testing robo-dogs to patrol the city with the goal of assisting police officers. The dogs can be fully autonomous or remotely controlled and can climb stairs and open doors. They can also be customized to detect hazardous substances such as carbon monoxide or combustible gases. What stands out in this project is the use of 5G technology for the teleoperation of the robo to carry out image analysis and detecting dangerous situations, like the use of e-scooters in prohibited areas. And that's all we have for this edition of DD India News Hour. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X, as well as Instagram. We'll be back with more news and updates as a break here on DD India. I'm Gautam Roy from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.